Okay. All right. Good afternoon, folks. It is our first Friday Fast 15 on February 4th. So if you want to have some fun with those, with that alliteration, try practicing that. Today we are reviewing shared drives and shared folders. So we do have, I want to pop back out here. If you are on the Northwest Regional's YouTube page and you go to the Google Lunch and Learn playlist, you can find the session on shared drives and the session on shared folders. So be sure to check that out. And today we will be reviewing those two different Google folder drives words there. My name is Jody. I'm your instructional technology specialist, and my pronouns are she, her. And to talk about shared drives, and we'll demo those too and look at those. But the shared drive, those are drives that do include folders, but those are drives that are owned by a work group. So HR has a shared drive for us. Technology has a shared drive for us. Your specific department may have a shared drive, and that is for all employees to be able to access materials. A benefit of the shared drive is that if someone changes roles or leaves the organization, that content stays with Northwest Regional. It doesn't go away. So if and I'm not planning on to on it anytime soon, but if I were to leave Northwest Regional, everything in my drive goes away. But if Corinne and I had a instructional tech shared drive and we put all of our materials in that, then no matter if I leave or Corinne leaves, the organization gets to keep all those materials that we created. So that's a good benefit of having a shared drive for your department. A reminder that for shared drives, that is something that you would go to the tech department, and Troy currently is the person that would set that up. He likes to typically meet with the work group and just make sure that that is what you need. And he has a really good process of coaching folks through it of should it be a shared drive or should this actually be better used in a folder that is in someone's My Drive. So you'd reach out to Troy if you thought that you needed a shared drive set up. In a shared drive, the roles are what determines who has access to it and who has access to add things or remove things from the shared drive. And so there's 3 roles. There's the manager, the content manager, and there are contributors. And the manager is usually the lead in that department or that work group. And then the manager can set who is also a content manager, which means that person also has permission to move things in or out. And then a contributor has a little less control, but also is able to put things in the shared drive. The rest of us, if we're not a manager or a content manager or a contributor, then we just have access to it. So we can go in there, we can read the files, we can make a copy of something and put it in our drive, but we can't make any changes or edits to that. So if you make a copy from something in the shared drive into my drive, your drive, then any changes, if there's an edit to the one in the shared drive, the copy you made is not going to get edited. It's your own copy. So that's kind of a safety feature as well. So we'll take a peek at some shared drives to kind of get a sense of what typically goes in a shared drive, and then we can compare that to my drive. If there is a folder that someone wants moved into, only managers and content managers could move a whole folder in. So a contributor might be able to add a file, but not be able to pull a whole folder into that shared drive. So an example of a shared drive that I have access to, and I think you all do as well, is the staff resources. And so let's take a peek at that. I'm going to pop out here and go to my drive. And then we'll go down here to shared drives. You can also expand that with that little drop down arrow there. So now I can see all of the shared drives that I've been invited to. And so we're going to look at the one that we all have access to, this staff resources. And when I click into that, it's going to suggest maybe some files that I might be interested or looked at recently. But then there is the list of all of the other shared folders within the shared drive. So Human Resources has it, and they've labeled it to know who is the manager. So if you had a question or you thought something should be added or deleted, then you'd want to reach out to these folks as the people who have permission to add or delete content. And so these are all files that we have access to. So if we look in Human Resources, there'll be some more folders here, and then some files that we have access to. So our handbook, how to create an absence, just those important HR resources that we all need to be able to access, but we don't have to change those or edit those. It's just really a resource there. So those are shared drives. And again, you can access that and find those right on that left-hand panel. If you don't expand it, and you just click on it, it's going to open here, and then you can get into those. Oh, no files in that one yet. And what was I going to click on? No. In our shared drive, that's one where you can also get those technology resources. And Troy is the manager, content manager. And so that's who you can reach out to. All right, over to you folks, our participants here. Are you content managers or users of the shared drive? How are you using shared drives in your role? If you are.
Yeah, I'm not anybody with any of that kind of power. Just a regular person accessing it.
Yeah. Same for me. All right, so let's go back here. Laura, do you use the shared drives at all?
I do use the shared drives. I believe I'm a content manager. What does that mean again? Sorry to have you repeat yourself.
No. The content manager means, so you're not like the owner of the shared drive, but your manager has given you that level of permission so that you can put materials in, you can delete materials, you can edit the materials that are in there.
Yeah, for our own shared drives within Columbia County, I have that level. And then of course, I'm just a contributor on the, I would say, agency-wide shared drives. But I do have to say that managing the documents that should be in folders is something I'm not sure who owns. And that's for our agency-wide. I just find things to be a little messy in our filing abilities.
Yeah. So that makes me wonder if we need some naming conventions that we kind of all follow. That might be something to bring up with leadership just to help that searchability and just know how to find stuff, because it does get a little messy.
And I think a lot of it too is was a new world, I guess, for people in the Google world, if you will, as opposed to, I don't know, the different file structures that I was used to working in previously. But I think agency-wide, we all need to come together and figure out what those naming conventions are and the filing protocols.
Yes, Agreed. So I will bring that up with the leaders in my group if you all want to bring that up with your leaders. And then happy to support, brainstorm, create some documents that would help people get into that new habit of naming things.
Great, thank you.
Yeah. And another thing that we'll probably want to retouch on too is just how to search and how to find things. And using these search features. So maybe I just want to look for videos that that Corinne has shared with me. And so that can kind of help funnel things down. There are a lot of things here, but sometimes just learning how Google searches things can help until we get into that better habit of our naming convention. So thank you, really good insight. All right, so again, shared drives. It's really for a bigger group of folks to really more access materials versus maybe projects that you're working on or documents that you're editing and building together. Go in those shared drives. And then the shared folders, probably something we're a little more comfortable with because I think this is just probably where we live a little bit more. But shared folders are owned by an individual. So I can create a folder and I can share it with whoever I want. And when I share it with folks, I can share where they have full ability to edit that document or anything in that folder, add things to it, delete things. There's just a little more looser permissions there. But it's owned by an individual, not a whole work group. The thing to be aware of course, there, as we talked about a moment ago, is that if I leave and IT shuts down my Google account, everything that was in that shared folder that I created is gone. The folder that I created is gone. A pro of it is flexible and it's easy to move. So the other day I was cleaning up my drive and I had folders for all of these different tech tools that I had been learning and sharing with others. And so that I wanted to actually put them all in one folder. So I look under tech tools and find all those tools versus having a separate folder in my drive that just made this list extra long. So to do that, so the Hapara is a tech tool that we use. And so I can just easily drag Hapara up into my tech tool folder. And now inside tech tools, Hapara is there. But I couldn't do that. I couldn't just drag Hapara into a shared drive because I don't have those permissions. So here is, let's try that. I'll demo that. So staff resources, if I tried to drag Seesaw into staff resources, notice it says, you must be the manager. You do not get to move a folder into that. And vice versa, I couldn't move a folder out of a shared drive into my drive. So that is a pro there. You just have that easy accessibility to move and flexibility to move your things around and help you be organized. Permissions in a shared folder are at the folder level. So that means that if I go to my drive and I wanted to, right now I can look and see if I've shared a folder with folks or if I haven't. So my book club folder just looks like a folder. I haven't shared that with anyone, but my Canvas folder has a little person icon in there. And so that means that I have shared that folder with folks. And if I click on the people up there, I can see that I've shared this with Corinne and I've given her full permission to edit. So she can come into this folder like it's her own, and she can add stuff to it. She can delete things. She can open up any of the files and edit those. But I could just have her be a viewer so she could see all this, or a commenter where she could be able to leave comments on the document, but not change the document. So any of your folders in your My Drive, you can look and see, have you shared those with others, the whole folder? And sometimes we don't want to share a whole folder with people. We just want to share one file. And so you can see here, here's a file, and that it has been shared with others. Versus here is a full file that has not been shared with anyone. So that sharing just kind of leads a path, a bookmark directly either to that file or to that whole folder. And you can change that. So if there comes a time where I'm like, you know what, Corinne doesn't need access to the whole Canvas folder, I can remove her from that, or just change her permissions. And then I could just add her to the documents that I wanted her to be able to see. You're probably very familiar though, when you go to share a file or a folder, that you give that person their permissions, either the viewer, the editor, or the commenter, which I didn't spell right. So let's edit that now. Shared folders, when you create them, they can, you can create them. So I don't have to go to Troy to make a new folder, and I can share it with anyone. And then the other kind of pretty thing is that you can add a shortcut to a shared folder in your drive. So say I want to access this professional learning, a folder in this professional learning shared drive. So I'm in a shared drive. And I could, if I wanted to always be able to access this Carnegie Summit information, if I right click on it, I can add a shortcut to the drive. And what that means, so let me add the shortcut. I can say where I want it, add shortcut. And now when I go to my drive, there is that shortcut to that folder, so that I don't have to always go to shared drives and search and scroll and try to figure it out. I can add that shortcut right there to my drive, and then I can have easy access to a shared folder. So there's a fun little benefit there. All right, now back to our participants, your experiences or ways that you are using shared folders with your work, with your teams or your colleagues.
So Jody, I'm on an evaluation team as part of my job. And so the folder of the different students or children that we're evaluating is in a shared drive kind of by our lead evaluator.
Okay.
Manage it. And so, or no, it's her own. She's not like a manager from a shared drive. It's her shared folder. Okay.
Yeah.
Figuring
The language is weird. It's her drive, but it's her My Drive.
And I'm not sure why. I'm not technologically savvy, but so when this person asked me, to upload to such and so-and-so's file in that shared evaluation folder or whatever, I get there, but it takes me a while. I'm not sure why, because I'm taking all this in that you're teaching us right now. So I end up going, how do I do that? I'm not even sure how I do it. I feel like I struggle each time, but I always get there.
All right, well, let me show you, because I am with you on that, of like trying to always find things. So 2 things that I do for files that I haven't created. So there are files or folders that have been shared with me. Is one, if I go to my priority drive right here, I can create a workspace
Oh,
and link, and just this is just like a little way to link to documents that I go to often. So I'm in an instructional coaching network, and I made this workspace where I can always see the agenda, our digest, and these are not these. The digest, I think, is a document I created, but these other documents Annie and Nahid created, but I just want to be able to access them really quickly. So I have this little workspace, and all you do is click create workspace, title it, so you could have eval,
mhm.
and then you start adding files, and it's going to say, oh, eval, this looks like you had the word eval in this one. Maybe that's a file you want. So it'll give you some suggestions. Otherwise, you choose file, and it's going to first drop you right into the files you most recently looked at. So you could scroll there and be like, oh, yep, this one, this one. You can link to a shared drive. You can
Mm,
link to any file in your drive, but you're probably
okay.
going to go to shared with me, and
Mhm.
you are going to look for those files that were shared with you for the eval stuff. You can
Okay.
search as well, and you can search by file type or owner. So you could put your manager's name in there and search for any file that she had shared with you or he had shared with you.
Okay.
So Workspaces has been a game changer for me to just help me keep track of where things are. So I'm going to remove that. The other thing I do is I will star things. So I'm supporting Jennifer Johnson and the Social Emotional Mental Health Network. She's the owner of this file, the shared file, or sorry, shared folder. She's the owner of it, but I starred it so that it will always be listed here in my starred, so I can quickly get to that work and right into that folder. It's Jen Johnson's folder, but I starred it so that I can quickly find it. And so if you open up, so here, these are things that have been shared with me. And I wanted to star that. If you just right click on that folder or a file, whatever one it is, and say add to starred. Now, when I go to my starred, I have easy access to that folder. And then if I'm done with that project or I don't need it anymore, you can remove it from starred. So those might be two ways just to help you quickly locate those files that you go to often that aren't yours personally.
Wow, that is a game changer.
Yeah. Yes, and I just learned about Workspaces, and I'm really liking the Workspaces. But Start is great too. And then of course, if I have a hidden workspace. So this was a project I was working on earlier in the year. I'm not working on it anymore, but I didn't want to delete all the links to those files. So I just hid it down here in case I need to go back to it later. The workspaces only allow you to have 25 files on a workspace. And so if you needed more, maybe you'd have, accessibility part 1 and accessibility part 2 or something like that if you were needing more than 25 files on that.
And Cheryl, that's really important because I too love workspaces, but I had no idea that I had a file limit when I started creating it. And I thought, well, this is just Laura's stuff. And all of a sudden things were disappearing. And I thought I had lost my mind. But then I learned that you do have that file number you have to stay within so that they don't disappear.
Oh, and thank you for saying that, Laura, because I didn't
Yeah.
realize if I added a 26th, it would take one out.
It does. And I don't know the priority or anything. Maybe that's a Troy question or something, but I was like, I know I
Oh,
put it in my workspace,
yeah.
but I love the suggestion of doing, Laura project A and then maybe Laura project B as a separate workspace to continue adding those important links.
Yes. Yes,
One
yes,
thing
yes.
I have a question on, Jody. I'm sorry, Cheryl, did you have any other questions for that before
Oh, no,
I?
this is great. Thanks.
Okay, great. So Jody, I love your view. If you could go back to my drive for you, all of my folders are listed all the way under the left-hand side, and I can't, and then on the right-hand side, they're all kind of hanging out there. So how do I change? Yeah, how do I change my
Okay.
view?
Yes. So I just last week, I think, noticed, oh, there's these little triangles here. So I could just scroll here. I
Right.
had just kept it minimized. I didn't know about the expansion. So that was new for me. That was fun. And then over here is this grid view. So right now it's in list view, but then, so yours might look like this. Is yours in
That,
grid view
yes,
like
and it's
this?
irritating to me.
Yes. So just click that list view, and then you can sort it by name, A to Z, Z to A.
Oh, got
And you could
it.
also sort by last modified by me, or last opened by me. So
Love
there's
it.
two sorting. You can't sort by owner, but you can sort by name or modified. So it's another great way to be like, okay, I know I worked on something 2 days ago. Where is it?
Yes,
What
thank
did
you
I
for
call it?
that. That
Yes.
is really helpful.
Yeah.
Okay, thank
Yes.
you.
Yes. And so, yeah, so you can expand and see the list there for my drive and for shared drives. And then you can change from grid view to list view.
Which is almost like tile and whatever it was in the,
Yes.
what was that, the
Oh,
Microsoft world?
yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, I love that. And that is the same, is the same here in priority? No. But same in shared drives. You can have it be grid view or list view for my drive or shared drive. And also for shared with me. Yay. Another feature for just for searchability, I go to this recent one a lot too. And it's like, okay, what was the name of that slide deck I was just looking at today or this week? Or so recent is a really helpful feature there too. All right, so that was the review I wanted to do. I did create a little Venn diagram that I thought maybe, let's see, if we were in the mood, we could do a couple of these as just an extra review. I was feeling extra teachery. Oh, here, I want to make this a little smaller. So a little Venn diagram, we have shared drives, we have shared folders. And so I thought maybe we could just, I would drag and drop these. So if it's company-wide file and template, would that be shared drives, shared folders, or is that for both? We'll just do a couple of these for fun.
Shared drive.
Shared drive, yes. That also makes sure if I can remember. How about files can be shared with anyone?
Shared folders.
This is kind of a tricky one.
What does the middle mean?
Anyone brave?
Yeah, maybe the middle, like the overlap, depending.
Okay. It's mostly true. This one is actually shared folders, and I didn't say this today. So shared folders, you really can share with folks outside of the organization. So if you work with a community provider that isn't employed by Northwest Regional, you can add them. When you can share that folder with them, but we couldn't add them to a shared drive. So the director of the Head Start Community Center you're working with couldn't be added to the shared drive because they don't have that Northwest Regional email, but you could share your own folder from your drive in there. So thank you for taking a shot on that one. Let's see about, oh, this one we'll know. Created by Troy in the IT department.
It would be a shared drive.
That one's a shared drive, yes. Where I save all of my personal content, or where you save all of your personal content.
Shared
Folder.
folders.
Folders, good. All right, and one more. Only the owner of the folder or file can add or delete those files.
Shared folders, but you control that, right?
Yes, I actually, yes. Yep. And yes, you do control that. Okay, well, that's just a fun little game. I thought it might be fun to
Thanks,
mix
Jody.
up.
Yeah.
No, it's good. It's fun.
Give it a shot. We won't do them all. I can share this with you if you want to play later or with one of your groups. So we're going to wrap up the shared drive, shared folder part, but I do want to remind you to check out those playlists. Coming up, I am offering some instructional technology professional learning community time. And so like we're going to talk about feedback and formative assessments and hybrid learning and things like that. So check that out. I'm going to give you this link to the slide deck too, so you can get that link. And then our upcoming Google series on the 16th is our Wednesday. We are going to look at managing files and folders in Google Workspace. So that might be a good one to join or check the YouTube channel after. Because I think that's what we kind of were just talking about, like those naming conventions and searching and how many folders do we have and blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
And then our next First Friday, March 4th, we're going to look at autocomplete. So this is in Gmail, autocomplete, nudges, and some other time savers in Gmail.
Great.
So I'm going to stop recording. And
You know, that